Welcome, friends, it is I, your LostScarf, and it's time for our newest god, the god Scylla. There she is, right there, being a pretty little princess. She's won every pageant ever for the last 20,000 years. You know why? She ate everyone else. Pretty much. So there she is right there. So we're going to go over just looking at her, looking at the new god skins and the cards. And then we'll talk about god changes and item changes and play Scylla herself. And then we'll go into a match in the upcoming video. So let's get going. Alright, there she is, the new god Scylla. Get Scylla! There she is. Bam! Scares you. I really hope she gets a Halloween skin. And, you know, it's just going to be her dressed up as Fenrir. Because it'd be the cutest little thing. And then she'd just be one with her wolves. Well, there you go there. That's pretty cool. And let's take a look at Hunbats. Space Monkey! There he is. Hunbat, Space Monkey. Looks pretty cool there. Honestly, people are sad because they don't think they're going to make a Space Agni because of this. They might still make a Space Agni. Why not? That'd be kind of cool to do. Hey, he's doing the moonwalk. He's doing the moonwalk. Oh, yeah. There we go right there. Let's take a closer look at the skins now. Take a look at other Scylla. So let's look at the other Scylla first real quick. It's Tiny Terror. And she's already a pumpkin. There you go. It all depends on you whether you like this color or not. I'm not the biggest fan of the color. But she does look pretty freaking creepy right here. Look at that. Scary little girl. Scary little girl. Over here you got the regular one. She's a little princess right there. Looking pretty cool here. We'll talk about Scylla's model in a moment. Let's go ahead and take a look at Hunbats. Space Monkey. There it is, Hunbats over here. And it is right here. Space Monkey! Now, we don't own the skin, so I can't show the effects, but he does have new effects for his abilities here. He's got a little jetpack on his back over here. And with that jetpack, he actually uses it. When he does overhead smash, he actually jumps up with these little jets and then he hits you down. That's pretty cool there. Another cool one is, of course, his ultimate. His Fear No Evil. He actually, a satellite comes crashing down and it pulsates, and that's how it's pushing people away. So that's pretty cool there. I did not see what the other abilities are. I'm hoping his monkey is just some cool looking tech monkey, and his leap is maybe jetpacks again. But that's Hunbats for you. Now the new gold skin is Gebby. Yeah, Geb just came out and he's already got a gold skin. Sorry to everyone who wants Mercury to have a gold skin. You're still out of luck there. So here's Geb here. As you can tell, the mossy stuff is the blue right there, and I'm going to assume the water is also blue. Can't see it from this angle. The eyes are blue, and also little moss here, or vines are blue as well. He's got gold everywhere because he is a rock after all. Here's the black one, and there you go. Oh, the water's still water. Okay. There you go. So Geb has three colors. He's got the color of water, and then he's got the moss is black, and then he's got vines are black, and then he's got the gold. Yep. Okay, so he's got three colors. That's cool right there. And then as you can see, there's new cards for everyone, and I will show you those when we look at Scylla later on. Oh, there's one more skin to look at, and that is the new convention skin. And it is Guan Yu's the new convention skin for 2014. And there he is, with the black and purple right there. And I guess you can say silver and purple, really. Well, black, silver, and purple, really. There you go. He's a raider. There you go. And it looks pretty cool there. It looks pretty cool. Pretty. It's a darker color. Dark color. He thinks he's Batman. There you go. Those are all the skins. Hey, let's talk about Scylla a minute. So Scylla. People have complaints, people have likes. Now, I like and am disappointed at the same time. This cute little girl with these hell beasts coming out of her. These wolftacles, as I like to call them, because they're little wolves and tentacles. Like, the Scylla lore, she's supposed to have wolves around her, pretty much as a belt around her waist, and then she has all these tentacles coming out of under her. She's also supposed to be this big, scary lady, so maybe like Ursula like that, or I was really expecting something scary like Arachne, because Arachne's a pretty scary chick. Look at her. I love Arachne, but look at her. She's something to be afraid of. I thought Scylla was going to be like that, but she didn't. Scylla's this little cute girl with wolftacles. And I like it, but I'm also disappointed because I was expecting something else. And there are concerns about the lore, how they just basically just made up her lore. Like, her lore's not based on anything. They talk about her lore, and they say, you know what, we're just making our own lore. In the lore, they say that pretty much. And so that is concerning, is like, how much are you going to take from lores now? How accurate are you going to be? Although, in case it is a game, so how accurate can you be? But it does show concerns for the future, but I really like this character at the same time. And people are comparing her to Annie, because, well, what can you do? She's a little girl with locks. Of course, she's going to look like Annie, but she looks pretty cool. I like her, and I can't wait to play her soon enough. Now, let's go ahead and talk about general changes, then items. And there's going to be a lot of items to talk about. Okay, so here we are in Conquest, and I can show you the timer already right here. So this is a timer about to fill up on the mid-furies in the right side. As you can see, the mid-furies have their own color now. They're not a gold anymore. And also the gold fury has their own color here. So this is the timer. Let me show you the timer when you can see it. So here, let's clear this out really quick here. And boom, and do this. There you go. So there's the timer right there. You're attacking me. There you go. So there's the timer. And it slowly fills up over time. And eventually it fills up and you're like, okay, that's done. So there you go. So I can see that timer because I killed that camp myself. Now here's something I don't like right here. And that is, the enemy Zhang is going to clear the mid right now. As soon as he's cleared it, I'll go look at it. Looks like it's cleared. Alright, so it's cleared. So now I'm going to come over. And you see, I can see the timer on this thing. I come over here. It's been taken by someone else. But I can see the timer, so I know when to come back for this thing. This, I think this is fine for early level play. I feel like we need to have a separate thing so early levels can have timers. But for the higher level people, we should not have timers. You should be punished for not catching your camps. You should definitely be punished, and even having the timers for the people who can see the camp when they destroy it, I don't like that either, because that just gives too much advantage to people who cleared the camp. I think keeping the timers in your head is really important, and I don't really agree with this timer at all. This will be good for Spectator. That'd be excellent for Spectator. Very good. And I think you should have these timers for beginner play. I really think so. I think we should have a separate queue for the beginners. At least like the first 5 or 10 levels, and let them have this timer, and tell them that this timer's temporary, and when they get to the higher levels, they will not have a timer anymore. No, you get to die now. Ah, there we go. So there we go. So, not a fan at all. Definitely not a fan. And yeah, don't like it. Alright. Thanks, Junks. There we go. Now to look at some other things. Alright, so a couple more general things. Here's one that I don't see in the patch notes, but people are talking about. And that is, when you're fighting and you're in your lane, if an enemy god shows up to gank you, it will warn you that there's an enemy nearby. It goes enemy nearby, so you know that there's someone else there and you need to get the heck out of there. You don't have to look at the mini-map. The game tells you that someone else has shown up. That is a bit much right there. That's a little too hand-holdy, and not a fan of that at all. We'll see it when we play Conquest, but definitely not a fan of that. One that is in the notes is that Cripple and Root now count as hard CC, so they will be affected by diminishing returns, and they will proc the Magi's Blessing. And now here's one I agree with, is Cripple effects now will interrupt movement abilities that are in progress. So, you used to be able to dash through a whirlpool, you used to be able to just do a lot of moves through a whirlpool and it doesn't affect you, it doesn't cripple you. Now it does, so you can't take advantage of that. You have to go around, which makes perfect sense. You should be going around them anyway. You shouldn't be able to run through a cripple, so there's that. And then here's one I take some chagrin with, and that is Assault now no longer has Guan Yu and Cupid as healers. They don't count anymore, only the 4 Magicals do. And I get this for the Rod of Aselphius, because only Magicals can use that rod. But healers are still pretty good when it comes to Guan Yu and Cupid if you take advantage of them. Guan Yu's heal is at maximum 170. Double that, and you have 340 healing out of Guan Yu. And it's not hard to do that if you let him tank the minions a little bit for that. He's got a pretty good consistent heal you can do every 14 seconds. That is pretty good as a heal right there. So if someone gets Guan Yu and some other team doesn't get a healer because of that, that's a disadvantage. You can also look at Cupid. If he actually puts emphasis on his ability, Cupid can heal you for 330 at maximum. Look at that. 110 times 3. 330 at maximum with all 3 hearts. That's a really good heal you can do every 14 seconds. That is, without having to do any of the passive stuff Guan Yu has to do, that heal is just as good as Guan Yu's heal every 14 seconds. That's pretty good. The problem, of course, is you have to run over and grab them. And, of course, this is only for one individual. So 330 for one individual, while Guan Yu's can heal 340 for an entire party. So I am disappointed that these guys aren't healers anymore, because if you get these guys, then you have a healer advantage whether you feel you do or not. While as you can look at Shanga's heal, she's got the Moonflower Dance. That heals 120 plus 30% magical power. Once you get about 120 magical power, her heal is equal to Guan Yu's, but not equal to the passive version of Guan Yu's heal. You have to get more healing to get beyond that, of course. You got to get a lot of healing to get beyond that. And so just Shanga's heal is it's in the mid-level of heals, and Guan Yu's is just as good as it in some ways and better in others if you get his passive up, but eventually hers will get better than his once you get enough magical power. especially with the Rod of Aselfius, then you can do a lot better. But this gives an unfair advantage to those who get Cupid and Guan Yu, because then they'll have a healer. If one team gets Guan Yu or Cupid, the other team won't get a healer because they're not counted as healers anymore, and I disagree with that. I really do. And so I find that unfortunate. Alright, that's enough about general stuff, so now let's talk about items. Okay, let's talk about consumables and actives first, and then we'll talk about all the item changes. First up is Ward. Now, Ward is 50 gold each, and you can only have 2 of them. This is pretty cheap, but is not worth getting over getting the level 3 eye for supports. For supports, you still get level 3 eye because the value against Sentry Wards is still the same, so it's still worth getting that instead. What Wards do, though, being this cheap, is it's good warding for the mid and the solo laners. This cheap amount of ward here means a mid god and a solo god will be harder to gank, which makes it harder for a jungler, and it just makes it safer for the mid and the solo gods. Don't agree with making it easier for these guys. Don't agree with making life safer for them. They should have risks involved with them, and the fact they can now ward easier worries me a little bit because of that. But at the end of the day, a jungler should be smart about wards and knowing how to attack an opponent despite wards anyway, so good luck to them with that. The other one is multi-potion. Now, you get half the effect of health and half the effect of mana in this multi-potion. So you heal 125 health and 75 mana, while the other ones are double that. So what does this mean? Well, I think this is good for junglers because you need HP and mana. This is good for solo lane warriors because you need HP and mana. And this is good for the supports because they need HP and mana. You give the blue buff to the ADC. That's what you do. So they don't need mana. They need HP. They don't need mana. But you're short on mana and you might need it for an emergency. So this multi-potion will be good for you. The solo lane god, as long as they're smart about how they do things, should not be getting poked too much. And so they just need mana potions, not really HP potions. So those are the people I think the multi-potion benefits best. Another change is to the active of purification beads, and that is that you now pretty much cleanse everything, because you can now cleanse cripple, and you can now cleanse roots. You couldn't do that before. So what this does is you can now cleanse Arachne's Cocoon, Honor's Impale, Aphrodite's Getaway, Tyr's Fearless, Scylla's Tentacle, and Freya's Banish. Now, Freya's Banish and the Tentacle are in place, so you just pop back down or just get out of the trap and then get going. But for Arachne's Cocoon, Honor's Impale, Getaway, and then Fearless, wherever you are when you hit the beads is where you're going to be, and then you just walk out of there. So, when you're getting hit by Tyr's Fearless, if you do it at the start of his Fearless, you just pop out and you just walk away, pretty much. You don't stay with it. The interesting one is Arachne's Cocoon, because it goes through walls. When you use the beads and you get pulled through a wall, if you're in the wall when you hit the beads, you end up at the pool's destination, which means, if I'm reading this correctly, you end up next to Arachne. So get the hell out of there. Pretty much that. Now let's talk about the trees. No, actually, no. Cut that part out. Cut that. We just finished talking about beads, so now it's the next cut point, so it is... Yeah, trees. Okay, now it's time to talk about the trees, which is very big here, and you'll see it right here. Look at that. So, I don't like this tree view. I like this view better, because you just get to your items, just click really quickly and get to the item you want. Whoops. So that's good there. But you have the choice of looking at the trees if you want, and as you can see, they've condensed everything. Everything's been condensed into smaller item spots because of trees. And the trees try to make sense. The tiny trinkets for lifesteal items. So like it reads right here, magical power and lifesteal items, magical power and penetration, magical power and protection, magical power and mana, magical power and health. Like they try to make sense with these little things right here. So if you specifically want lifesteal, tiny trinket. If you specifically want attack speed with magical power, emerald ring. If you specifically want magical power and HP, you go there. So that you don't need to remember what items go what. You can just look at these trees and go, okay, and then these are the items you want for these things. So there you go with that. That's what they've done. They've condensed things down to that. And because they've condensed things down like that, they've gotten rid of a bunch of the alternate items except for one. There is no longer Ascendance. There is no longer Devourer's Touch. There's none of those. No Mayat's Doom, none of those. They've also gotten rid of the focused Voidblade and Void Stun, which a lot of people are big on. They've also gotten rid of they've gotten rid of Pause. They've gotten rid of They've gotten rid of Fatalist, but they kept Hasteless. They kept the hastened Fatalist, but they took out the regular Fatalist. That's what they've done there. You can see it right here. So yeah, there it is. It's gone. And then you got Witchstone here. Now the tier 1 and tier 2 items are tried to be made to make sense. Like you can see right here. This is a good example of it. You start out with attack speed and movement speed item. And then this goes into attack speed, movement speed, and then into hasteless. While as the other way is Ebonstone, which gives you physical protection, movement speed, and attack speed, which leads into more physical protection, movement speed, and attack speed. Makes perfect sense. That's what they're doing there. And understanding the min-max of the tier 1 and tier 2, I'll leave that to you guys to figure out. I don't need to figure that out. But there is one item that has been changed because it has been kept. And that is, I'll show you once I get down there. Malice. Malice has been changed to reflect the fact that it's not an alternate to Rage anymore. Malice is now 50 physical power and 20% critical strike chance. And it has a passive of, if you hit someone with a crit, 60% of your total power will be physical damage over 3 seconds. So, a DOT. And if you hit someone with another crit, it just refreshes. It doesn't stack, it refreshes, which is a good thing to mention, because then basically it's a really strong Arachne passive. So Malice is now its own thing, and look at all these crit items here. Combined, 20%, 30%, 20%, and 10%. You get 80% crits, not counting Rage's passive. And just think of the abilities people have. You have Nias 2, which gives them 50% crit. So you got 95% crit without using Rage's passive. Artemis's passive gives you 15, so same thing. Hunbat's passive gives you 50%. And here's an interesting thing. Hunbat's passive of 50% plus Malice's 20% gives you a 70% chance of activating the passive on Malice. So this is a pretty good idea to try out on Hunbat's. I don't know if it's the best item for him, but we'll see as people try it out. I think it might work. But just think about this. All the crits you can give yourself. You can give yourself pretty much almost guaranteed crits buying these 4 items. Is that a good idea? Probably not, but it at least is an option. So I might try that out sometime with Baka and see how it goes. Maybe not Baka, maybe Naya instead, or maybe Art because they have innate crit. But we'll see what I do with that. And they changed one more item, and that is the Chronos Pendant. So I'll show you that now. Chronos Pendant has been buffed to 75 magical power from 60, so 15 increase. The idea here is to just let you have another choice besides Breastplate of Valor, because everyone gets Breastplate of Valor. Okay, not everyone. A lot of people get Breastplate of Valor instead of Chronos Pendant, because Chronos Pendant just doesn't give that much. 75 might be enough. Still, a lot of people are going to say Breastplate of Valor is better, and they're fine to that opinion. I think it is a good item. I don't know if Chronos Pendant is better, but sometimes if the physicals aren't your problem, then you got to get Chronos Pendant. And it really depends on how well you're doing. If you think you're going to get your ass beat by physicals, then get the Breastplate of Valor, of course. But if you think you can keep a lid on them, if you think you're not going to get hit that hard, that often, then Chronos Pendant, of course, because you want to kill them before they kill you, basically. And that is everything for items. So now it's time to talk about guns. Okay, cut that part about everything for items. That's it. Okay, so the other items that were removed, besides the overtime ones like Ascendance, Devourer's Touch, was Magi's Cowl, Gem of Binding. Gem of Binding really hurts Kronos, because that's a great item on him, even on Freya as well. Hide Leviathan is the one that hurts, because that's a good solid item, and it's gone now. You can only get Urchin. And Gem of Gaia, nobody used that. And Frostbite Amulet, nobody used it either. So, all the alternate items are gone, except for Malice. And they made Malice its own thing. Ain't that something else? That's very interesting there. And that's all the changes. So now let's talk about gods. One big thing before we move on to the gods is Arena League now has 4 bans, everybody. Forgot to mention that in the general stuff. It's actually not in the patch notes. I just remembered it right now. So yeah, there's 4 bans in Arena League. So there you go. So first nerf is Alaquan. His skull no longer is 50 across the board. Now it is 30 up to 50% slow. It's still a nice slow 30%, so you're still going to be able to get people with your combo. They're just going to be less slow, so you might only get 1 less tick on them, recasted on them with the slow. So that's pretty good there. Alaquan has been very strong lately, and this is a nice step in making him less so, but he's still going to be a good god. It's Alaquan, we all know that. Ares has a change to his searing flesh. It's a very interesting idea here. Now what happens is it pushes enemies back like Guan Yu's Talu Assault. So basically what this does is, how does it help him? It helps his laning presence because he pushes back minions and bunches them up, which will help with a big AoE attack from his ADC or a mage in the area. It just makes it easier for just an easier way to kill all these minions in one shot. And that's all it does. It's just a corralling move. And that's good enough. That's a good thing to give Ares. That's nice. Now I have to mention this. Bastet's Pounce is less buggy now. There were a lot of ways to bug it out where you just couldn't leap back. And now they've made a bunch of bug fixes there. So I gotta mention that they've bug fixed a lot of her pounce back, and that's great. Because you see me get killed in things I should not be getting killed because I should be pouncing back. And so they've made some bug fixes there. So great. Just great. Geb's shield has been nerfed in a way. It's now no longer 18% of Geb's HP. Now it is 15% of his HP. So what does this really do overall? Well, if you take into account caps of HP, his shield goes from 1190 maximum possible to now 975 possible. And that's still pretty good. 975 on a shield is still very good if you go max HP. And I don't think you're going to feel it that much. 3%, I don't know if you're going to feel it because that shield is just awesome. That is a great shield, and it's still great. That is really good. Now, Hades has some big changes to him. They've taken away some of the damage on Death from Below. They took away 20 flat damage and 10% of the magical contribution on his Death from Below, and they gave it to Devour Souls. So now this is 20 more on Devour Souls and 10% more. The reasoning Bart gave was Death from Below would kill minions, which is bad because you want to set up the minions with the Blight from Death from Below for Devour Souls to heal yourself. That's really what it's for. Death from Below does some good damage, but it's meant to set up for Devour Souls. So they nerf some of the damage on Death from Below so that Devour Souls can do the damage and get the HP that you get from Blight. The other change is Shroud of Darkness now applies Blight. And I need to test out what does this do in practice is if you have an opponent blighted and you fear them, do you also put Blight again? That's the question. That's really what I don't know. Do you fear and Blight so that you can do Devour Souls? So basically you could jump in with Death from Below, hit them with Shroud of Darkness to fear them, and then hit them with Devour Souls for just a big combo effect. That's the question I have. Can you do that? I have to test it out. And then the other thing, though, is because you can apply Blight with Shroud of Darkness, you can use Shroud of Darkness into Devour Souls without putting at risk your escape. That's another nice thing for Hades there. Death from Below is cheaper mana-wise than using Shroud of Darkness for this. So if you have a lot of mana, of course, go Shroud of Darkness and Devour Souls. But if you don't have much mana and you want to be efficient, then you still probably will go Death from Below into Devour Souls. But those are your options there. You just have more options as Hades, and this is good for Hades. This makes him stronger and makes him scarier, so good for him. Now, Naya has a buff that's interesting, and that is you can now crit with the hit from Armillary Sash. That is, you hit him with a sash, and then you fly over and you hit the person, right? That hit can now possibly crit. This has some synergy with the fact that Naya relies on crits with her ultimate, so you have the chance of critting someone and then hitting them with your ultimate for even more crit stuff. And this really helps with, of course, the 15% that you get from his Flaming Spear. So there you go. You set up with a Flaming Spear, Armillary Sash into them, and then maybe do your ultimate. Or maybe not. Maybe just keep beating them up. Of course, some people like going Armillary Sash into Flaming Spear. And because of just the duration and length on that, you won't have it for very long. So you have to make your choice. Do you want to go for the crit hit? Or do you want to go for Armillary Sash, then beat them down with this if you're not going for the ultimate using the Armillary Sash? That's your choices there. That's not a bad thing to have more choices. That's a good thing. Now for the buff I do not agree with. I love Poseidon. Poseidon's great. He's really strong. And they just made him stronger. Poseidon's Trident no longer takes away from his Tide. The other thing is, changing Tide no longer loses Tide over time. It only loses Tide when you use abilities that aren't Trident. So Tidal Surge, Whirlpool, and Release the Kraken will now be the only ways to lose Tide. What does this mean? What this means is you can jet across the map at any time. You can be anywhere on the map at any time. Poseidon now has an amazing map presence because he can be anywhere very quickly. He will not lose Tide, so you don't have to worry about that. And what that means is you can rush over to somewhere and go Whirlpool, Release Kraken anytime you want when you have them on cooldown because you can just rush anywhere and do them. And of course you put the Tidal Surge into the combo with that. You're running around with your changing tides. It's not that high. You go to a buff camp, build it up with Trident, and then head over to wherever you need to be, do your big combo, and then have a party, because everyone's dead. That is worrying me, because Poseidon is strong. He's a very strong god. We know that. And now he's going to be a lot stronger, and I can't wait to play him. I can't wait to wreck people with him until they nerf something, because holy crap, he didn't need that. But may as well enjoy it for the time being, huh? Alright, that is everything. Everything else was bug fixes. Oh, this is a pretty big bug fix. So Thor's ultimate. When you did the ultimate, it only did damage based on the first time you use it, which means when you leveled it up to full, to 350 damage plus 120, it only did 150 damage if you used it prior to that one. So it was just bugged for a month, and people finally figured out what the bug is and they fixed it. So that's pretty big there, so we should see how Thor is now because of that. Now let's look at Scylla. Alright, let's look at some cards before we get started. Also, Hades, it does cast Blight after fearing, so you can do all three abilities together. Okay, here's Aphrodite. It's a nice, smoother image there. And she's still hot as hell. There you go with that one. And we got Artemis. Where is Artemis? Here's Artemis. I like the old one better, but it's still a very nice picture there. It's very smooth, very soft. Looks pretty cool. Another picture is Baka. Bakasura. You got these scary little eyes here. I think I like the old one better, but this is still a good picture right here. And it's just still scary. Still scary. Because I like the other one where you don't know what's in the hood. This one you got eyes there so you know what it is, but still, you know. There you go. Another one is... Special mention, Sun Wukong has his old portrait back. I really do not like the new one, so I like that this is back. And then finally, Loki. Loki. Now, I wish it was this red. Now, this is a very smooth, very nice. He does look pretty mean there. Pretty good picture of Loki there. I think that's everybody, so let's go ahead and get to Scylla. Scylla. So there we go. Here's Scylla. I'm not going to get the other one. And I hope we get the opener. I hope we get... She actually says the names of her doggies. She actually says the name of her wolfticles. I really want to hear the names. I hope she says them right now.
Okay, everyone. Time for some fun.
Oh, no, she didn't. Okay, so her wolfticles' names are Achilles, Ajax, I can't remember the other one, and Zoe. So they're named after heroes and then Zoe. I can't remember the third doggy, though. Okay, so her passive. Sorry about that first. Quick learner. What happens is the maximum level of an ability has an extra effect to it. And every time she maximizes an ability, she gets 20 magical power. So let me show you that. So the first time you could actually get something to max is level 9, and that's if you skip a lot of abilities. So there you go, level 9 there. The second time would be level 10. So level 10 there. You can see it filling up. Next would be 15, of course. So there you go. And then finally her ultimate for 20. And there we go. So there you go right there. So here are her abilities. I'll show you them right now. So you have Sikkim. You have Crush. You have, what's this one called again? Sentinel. And then finally, her ultimate's called I'm a Monster. And this is just a cool looking move. What I like is that there's a delay on it. Now I should buy some CD really quick. I could do that more often. So CD.
Seems bulky.
There you go. You give her armor, seems bulky. Nice. Okay, so I just showed you Monster really quick, and we'll show it again in about 70 seconds. Now, Sikkim is cool. It's a skill shot that before level 5 it only hits one target, and it roots and cripples your target in place, and you can just beat them up. And when it's at max level, it hits 3 targets. So, blam! There you go. Now, Crush is her 2, and this is going to be your main lane clearer. And this is, you throw down this Crush. For 5 seconds, it slows down whoever's in it. And after 5 seconds, it explodes for damage. And you can cast it early. You can actually cast it early. Right here, see? You can cast it early. Boom. There you go. And it does the same damage regardless. Duration does not affect damage. So it's just there to slow down your opponent. At the final level, it gives you 25% magical protection debuff. So what you can do is you can go ahead and you can put this down to slow someone down, sick them, and then you just hit them with both things. Or you sick them first, then put down the debuff. It really depends on the order of how you think you can land them, because the thing about this is, it does have a delay on the throw. It's about as long as the old Arachne web throw. I really think it's about that length in time, so if you can land that early first, go ahead and do it. But if you don't think you can, then go sick them and then into that. Then there's 3, which is throwing out Zoe, which is Sentinel. And for 5 seconds, it acts as a ward. And in those 5 seconds, if you cast it again, you fly over to it. Somebody made a video where they put a ward in the enemy base, teleported there, and then went back to Zoe, and they flew all the way across, and it was funny to see. And then there's your final ability, which is I'm a Monster. But listen, the extra thing to this is... Let's see, what is the extra? So at the final level of Sentinel, you gain you can see through line of sight blockers, and the placement range is longer. So this is even further away than normal. Okay. The advantage of this is you can use it to look at camps. You can also use it to look at just checking to see if someone's coming to gank you. Like there's already a ward pinging. You're like, okay, well there's no ward here, so check it, and there you go. You can also use it as escape, of course. Probably going to be primarily used as an escape and a means of just checking camps. Because in the mid, you can check if the mid Furies are down for your team, so that'd be very useful there. And finally, I'm a Monster. So she's CC immune for 6 seconds, And she can move at 35% movement speed, and then she does a big attack that's a big AoE attack. I showed you that already. At final level, it's doubled to 70%. The cool thing about I'm a Monster is if you kill somebody, you get to do it one more time. And it's not single target. It hits everything in its spot, so you can actually penta with this thing. And it's the damage of Ao Kuang's ultimate. It's 800 plus 120 magical power. That is Ao Kuang's ultimate. So you can do Ao Kuang's ultimate twice, just in a circle about this size, a little bit smaller. And yeah, you can do it twice. So picture Ares' ultimate with that. You will get a penta, people. You will get a penta. So let me just go ahead and beat up on Ra right here. So stick him, put this on him. Now he's got 25% less. And kablam! And then not enough damage there because I don't have items. But I would be able to do it again. So bad example there. So that's all of her abilities there. Now this is her hop, which is EU. Now where do I think she goes? I think she's a good mid to solo god, definitely for that, because she can ward and she can check camp, so that's pretty nice there. Can she be a support god? Some people say you should be able to make her a support god because of Sikkim and the slow, but give that to a guardian who can take a hit, I think. So I don't think so. Don't do that. I really think she should be a solo to mid god. Some people are saying you can try to jungle with her, but this is her only good clear is her crush, while Sikkim isn't very good until the final level. So I don't agree with thinking she can be a jungler. You can try, and I probably will try at least once, but I don't think that's where she'll be used best. That should be everything. Coming up is going to be the loss screen for Scylla, and hopefully get a win screen when we do the match later on today in Conquest or Arena, and then next day will be Conquest or Arena. Alright, here's her loss animation. Hopefully we get the win animation later today, but here's what happens when you lose. She's just so unhappy. They give her a ball. She throws it. Big mistake. Ah! I love that. That is hilarious. That is just hilarious right there. Nice. And then one of them catches the ball and they lift her back up and they reset the animation. That's pretty funny there. I'll be honest, I like this one better than the win animation. I really like this one more. It's funnier. But hopefully we see the winner one later on today. See you there.